the message from the regime in Iran will be business as usual. Raisi is not actually the most important figure in the regime by some measure, but he was being groomed as the successor to the supreme leader, and that's what makes what has happened of particular note. The regime will simply, I think, double down. I think there will be a tremendous determination to ensure that there is no popular dissent emerging. They're already, orchestrating the weeping and tears for the fallen president. So there will be mass funerals and mass indications of great popular support, which in fact is all nonsense, because in fact, during his presidency, the inflation has reached 40%. There's been a full-scale confrontation with Israel, which they've long wanted to avoid, preferring to use proxies. There's been massive demonstrations against the regime as a result of the crackdown on hijab wearing and chastity. I don't think nothing is going to change the regime's course. Either the whole regime has to be toppled, or it'll just carry on in much the same way. The other real power source is there, and this has developed particularly in the last 10 or 15 years, is the Iranian Revolutionary Guards. And they are very much the Praetorian Guard of the supreme religious leader. And they will be playing a particularly aggressive role in ensuring that there is no dissent and no sign of fractures in the regime. I don't think it has the same power to motivate people in the same way as the various deaths of those who were opposed to the regime has in the past. There will be many people of the liberal persuasion, shall we say, who will have been delighted at the death of Raisi, but I don't see them as using that as a flag to go out onto the streets. And the other thing, there'll have to be a presidential election to replace Raisi, and the candidates who will be permitted to stand will be from a very limited background. As I say, there is no real opposition in the sense that there will be no trailblazing liberal on the ballot paper. So it's going to be roughly business as before. I think they'll be particularly brutal in suppressing it, and they've been successful in brutally suppressing uprisings, as we've seen over the hijab wearing. He bloodied himself by being involved in the mass execution of political activists against the revolution in its earlier years. And that's where he earned the charming nickname of the Butcher. I think he had an appalling record, and I think anyone of a moderate or liberal disposition in Iran must have been dismayed that when he was elected president 3 years ago, he's done nothing since to suggest that he's a changed man. He was a person absolutely schooled in the earliest days of the revolution and embraced it with enthusiasm and doubled down at every opportunity of showing how brutal he could be. There's a school of hardline clerics. They were already being assembled into this so-called assembly of experts, who are the people who actually choose the supreme leader. And Raisi was prominent among them, both as a member of that assembly and as a prime candidate to succeed the present leader. There was no pool of, as I say, of lily-livered liberals who were going to rock the boat. So I think it will be very much, as far as the regime is concerned, it will be business as usual. Whether it impacts on their foreign policy, I doubt as well, because that's really laid down by the supreme leader. So they will continue their hostility to Israel, but in attempt to damage Israel as much as possible through their proxies, whether they're proxies in Lebanon, within Gaza, or in Yemen, or Syria, or indeed Iraq. They will carry on doing that, but hope to avoid a face-to-face confrontation with Israel, which would not end well. I think they will carry on as clandestinely as they can to develop a nuclear weapon capability. Some of the information I've seen suggests that they're really only months away from being able to do so. And the collapse of the nuclear deal, with all its imperfections, has only encouraged them to carry on doing it further and faster.
His rise has been extremely bloody. He has the blood of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Iranians on his hands. And understandably, his demise, his death, has been celebrated by the Iranian people. And I think that is a really important point. Policies will not change as a result of Raisi's death or Amir Abdullahian's death. Power in the Islamic Republic is absolute in the hands of the supreme leader and his office, the Beit Rahbari, the office of the supreme leader. Let's not forget, the Islamic Republic is an absolute totalitarian dictatorship. Only one man rules with absolute authority. So in terms of policies, this won't affect much.